wow, it's been a while since I've done one of these. And I want to see if I can get back into the rhythm of these, but I want to ease into it. I want to start something fun and light. What's more fun than dancing, right? Everybody loves dancing, whether it's competitive or just for fun. The question you're probably asking is this just going to be a top 10 of like Singing in the Rain dance numbers or Blue Skies dancing numbers or something like that? So I imposed a few rules to make this a little more interesting. Number one, it cannot be from a movie that is a musical or based on a musical. Number two, if the movie is explicitly about dancing and nothing else, it does not count. That should help to limit it down to just 10. So with that said, let's start off with number 10, which I admit right now is completely biased. But it's my list.
You don't have to put on that red light.
Cheerleaders are dancers who have gone retarded.
This is a movie about Shaolin monks that decide to play soccer. All of a sudden, for no real reason, this happens. As I said, it is completely biased because I'm a big Michael Jackson fan, but I also like to think that the director just watched Thriller one night and then came into work the next day and just said, okay guys, we're doing Thriller today, and everyone was just like, wait, what? Number 9.
You could see that Pierre did truly love the mademoiselle.
Kind of a weird choice, I'm not gonna lie. Technically speaking, there's nothing really that fantastic about it, but it earns a place on the list because of the characters involved. We know John Travolta's character Vega as being, you know, a killer, a murderer, and when he's paired up to more or less babysit Uma Thurman's character, you're not really sure how it's gonna play out. But yeah, and it is kind of fun to see, you know, an assassin getting up and doing a little jig. And it's kind of a treat to see John Travolta getting back up on stage again. Number 8.
If you want to fight me, what? Ha, you're not the brightest.
Now we all know that this is a scene done just for laughs, but it helps. The scene works because as soon as he goes into his song and dance number, all the other characters look at each other like they're all really confused about what's happening at the moment. Which makes it funny, because if they all played along and went into it, it would just kind of alienate us. Like, it would probably still be fun and funny to watch, but it wouldn't be as funny as, like, when you see Michael Cera's face and he's just like, was that glitter that just came out of his hand? And then you see his sister, you know, explicitly very confused as well. And it's a lot of fun. It keeps escalating and building and building. The fact that it affects the characters in that way is kind of what puts it up there. Maybe I'm biased to this one too. I don't know. Fuck it, it's my list. Number 7. This was a tough choice, but I did put this one over Scott Pilgrim because the Scott Pilgrim one was a joke dance scene. This one actually served some kind of a purpose. They established very quickly in the movie that these characters are from completely different worlds. They have no business ever speaking with each other ever, but they kind of have to just for this one day for detention. And while the entire movie, you know, the acting and the scenes and all that stuff, it's explaining why they're all the same and they're not as different as they thought. This dance scene showed how they were the same, how similar they were. And movies are a visual medium. That kind of thing is preferred. You should show, not tell. So yeah, again, tough call putting it over Scott Pilgrim because the Scott Pilgrim one is funnier. It is a lot more fun. But I like this one. I admire this one more because it actually is interwoven into the story and the way things were done. So. Alright, now before we get to this next one, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. Please let me explain. Promise me you're not just going to jump into the comments and blow me the fuck up, okay? Just hear me out. Let me explain it, okay? You promise? Okay, number 6. Hey, you promised. Just let me explain, okay? I get that this scene is horrible. I get that it's awful to watch. But that's out of context. In context. For those of you who are unaware, the third Spider-Man movie was adapting the symbiote arc from the comic books, where an alien life form, a gooey alien life form, comes down to Earth and attaches itself to Peter Parker, whereby he begins to exhibit strange behaviors. He's not becoming himself. The symbiote starts to affect his brain chemistry. He becomes addicted to it. He can't say no because it makes him feel good. It makes him feel strong. So it is an addiction, and you want him to break it. The easiest way to do that back in the cartoons and in the comics, when people's attention span was very, very short and you had a very limited time to do things, was just to make him act like a jerk. They had this symbiote increase his aggression. He had a very short temper. He pushed people. In the movie, they went a slightly different way about it. He is a little bit more aggressive. So the way that they kind of went about that was they just had you uncomfortable. Hence. And in that sense, this scene works just fine. It serves a storytelling purpose, and it's funny. You're not supposed to want him to keep wearing the symbiote. You want them to break apart. So when you get mad at seeing him doing this, that is kind of the point. I hate to sound kind of pretentious in that way, but that is the idea. So that's why I had it as number 6, is because it actually does serve a greater purpose. That said, that still doesn't excuse how they fucked up Venom in the movie. Number 5. This one is pushing it a little bit. It doesn't break any of the rules that I set up earlier, but you could argue whether or not it's actually a part of the movie, because the movie ends, the credits start to roll, and then the dance scene starts. I would counter-argue that the scene still does take place in the continuity of the story they're telling. The movie is just so dismal, and you're rooting for the entire time, and it's not until the last 2 minutes that you feel any kind of yes, any kind of a victory. And the dance scene perfectly embodies that. It's just like a celebration of, we did it, we made it. Not really any kind of technical aspect, because they're not great dancers, but that's not really the point. You don't have to be a great dancer to just celebrate happiness, which is what the scene does really well, if you stick through the movie, because the dance scene was the cherry on top to the whole movie. Number 4.
Is a day,
This one is kind of a tough one to defend. For those of you living under a rock, Beetlejuice is about a young couple that tragically die, and they're confined to their house as ghosts. I like this scene because it gets the audience. It's a gotcha moment, because it is so random. Prior to, there's no scene of the ghost couple scheming and plotting, being like, we'll get them at dinner, yeah. It's just, it's honestly, it just goes straight to dinner, and they're just talking, and it just feels like a normal scene. And then this happens.
I would rather talk about
daylight come and me want go home.
Otho, are you doing
Work
this?
all night and a drink a rum. Daylight come and we want go home. Stack banana till the morning come. Daylight come and we want go home.
And then it just keeps going, and the audience, you can only imagine, is just sitting there in their seats looking at each other like, what the hell is happening? But it's fun. And then the scene ends, and then you see the couple running out and snickering and giggling at each other, and then you realize it clues in like, oh, it was the thing you guys were doing. Oh, good for you. That was good. So I like it because it does kind of, it tricks the audience as well. And Beetlejuice was a pretty iconic, like, big part of me growing up. Maybe this whole list is just me biased, but that's why it's a favorite list, not a best list, right? Oh. Well, shit. Number 3.
Mamushka! Taught to us by our Cossack cousins, the mamushka has been an Addams family tradition since God knows when.
Okay, this one is not just bias. I can fully defend and back this one up. When you have family reunions or getting together and, you know, things like that, everybody's got some kind of a tradition that they do. Maybe it doesn't root back to, you know, Jack the Ripper or anything like that, but everybody's got a tradition of some kind that they do. Maybe it's opening a Christmas present on Christmas Eve before, you know, Christmas Day. It's got some kind of tradition that you do with your family explicitly. And I like that they managed to incorporate that into the Addams Family. Helps to, again, on a very subtle level, help make them feel like a real, genuine family and not, you know, a bunch of freaks that everyone says that they are. And it's a lot of fun, too, on top of that.
So,
Hey, 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 let's dance the dance of brotherly love. Mamushka!
Number 2.
If you're blue and you don't know where to go to, why don't you go where fashion sits?
I don't have much justification for this one. It's just fucking funny. I can't watch this and not laugh. I never in my life would have thought that I would see Frankenstein and his monster tap dancing to Putting on the Ritz and have it be hilarious and like workable. It just brings me so much joy. And my number 1 favorite dance scene is... very severely tempted to put the other dance scene in this movie in the number 1 spot, which is Cuban Pete when he's trying to escape from the police officers. But that was a joke scene, and I don't know how I feel about the idea of putting a joke scene in the number 1 spot. It's fun, it's random, it tells a story, the way the camera moves, the choreography. There's choreography, there's actual like dancing in there. The way they cross-cut it into the story with the gangsters going on in the background. Everyone remembers a scene from the movie. Even if everyone remembers Jim Carrey, everyone remembers smoking and that stuff, but the scene that everybody remembers is this one. This was the scene where you finally were solidified, if you weren't already, that this is going to be a cartoon movie, then here you go. It's my favorite. Take it for what it's worth. And there you go. Those are my 10 favorite dance scenes in movies. Hope you all enjoyed. Like to hear what you think were some of yours, what was I missing, and I'm going to try and do these a little more often because these are fun. I'd appreciate some feedback on what my next top 10 ought to be, but until then, I will see you guys at a later time. Bye!